Hello everybody and welcome to another video with me, Matt Goddard of the Boxing Locker. It is nice to be back, and for this video I'm going to be waxing lyrical about the jab, its many functions, and this is something I've spoken about before, but more specifically in this video I want to talk about how we utilize the jab to create openings, to prevent our opponent working, and of course to score and land on the front foot and the back foot. Okay, so first and foremost, we have lots of different forms of jab, but we're going to work today primarily from the basic jab, which begins with a wrist rotation, corkscrewed over, a little pop from the shoulder, a little pop from the hip, keeping everything tucked in. Okay, so the primary focus of that jab is that it enables us to follow up with other shots, to move our head from a balanced and adaptable position, to move our feet so we can do it on the front foot, the back foot, moving to the left, moving to the right. They're all options. It also enables us to jab to the gloves, to jab to the body, to double up the jab, to slip with the jab, and all of those different variations once again then create different opportunities for us or different chances to prevent our opponent from capitalizing on openings. Now, let's get into that a little bit. There is no format or structure for this video. I'm just speaking as it comes into my mind. So there may be a little bit of garbled gobbledygook coming out, but stick with me and I promise you there's going to be some absolute gold nuggets in amongst all of this. So first and foremost, we're working on that jab. Now, if I've got an opponent who is aggressive, for example, I want to be throwing that jab quite stiff because I need to give them something to slow them down, to prevent them just walking me down. However, okay, and this is where it gets complicated, and this is where boxing acumen comes into it, because it's no good if every time I throw that jab against an aggressive opponent, I'm driving in, snapping it in, getting my whole body into that shot, because all that happens then is, by the very nature of that punch, it requires a greater level of commitment. And as such, when I then have that greater level of commitment, my aggressive opponent slips and makes misses and then drives in and follows up with lots of other punches. It's then more challenging for me to react, to adapt, and then to defend those punches because I've overcommitted. So sometimes I want to be able to snap that jab out from the shoulder, whap, get a little bit of body into it, on the front foot maybe just the front foot moving. Doesn't always have to go with both feet. Sometimes I want to hold that back foot so I get the range and then return back to that point. So I need to be able to vary between that power jab mixing in. Sometimes I want to just throw that jab out real snappy. Give me a chance to use my feet and then pick punches off the back of that as that aggressive opponent is coming in. Sometimes I want to just touch him with that jab. Touch with that jab and keep it in there, okay? Alexander Usyk style, I want to keep it out there, give them something to think about, keep their mind, keep their eye, keep their feet occupied. So then as they're trying to come in, I'm slowing them down, pick a couple of shots, back to it, pop, drive that jab in, back to it, keep it varied. When I'm doing that, top tip, keep the hand above your chin height. So it's always moving around up here. I don't want to drop it down here. Opening over the top, chop, wallop, then we're in trouble, okay? So I keep that hand high and I circle around with it. It moves in varied. My height shifts all the time, little foot feint, hand feint. Give them something to think about all the time, okay? So we need to be able to vary that jab up. Now, when an aggressive opponent is coming in, a particularly effective shot, and one that I've used throughout my boxing career, is that body jab. Drive in, drop down, protect with that shoulder, chin tucked behind it, hand in. Now I'm in a nice position to lift the uppercut up, to chop over the top, or to back out and get out, as we've seen Floyd Mayweather do many, many times. The body jab is Floyd's greatest shot. I refuse to hear otherwise. So, aggressive opponents require multiple different varieties of jab to be ultra effective. Now, the jab is a spear. Think of yourself as a Roman centurion. I'm in the front lines. Everybody's charging down the hill towards me, all of the Gauls or the whatever tribes they're hunting down, the barbarians. And then I'm there with all of my brothers and we've got a shield, and that spear is what stops them coming forward. Straight down the middle, okay? Now in this case, my spear is my lead hand and my shield is my rear hand. So I want to keep that rear hand engaged. There's a shield as that spear drives out, even if it's just a prod and poke, even if it's just a little tester. Keep it moving, drive it out on the back leg, keep filling up that space. Somebody who does this particularly well against opponents is, of course, Shakur Stevenson, who a lot of people kind of denigrate and down talk because he's not necessarily exciting. But for me, I found watching his boxing style beautiful. I think he's He's an artist. I think he boxes in a purist manner that deserves to be enjoyed a little bit more than it is. I get that some people just want blood and guts, and that's great. Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti, but if every fight was like that, we wouldn't have many champions, and we wouldn't have a lot of the greatest names that we have throughout history. So with that being said, anyway, aggressive opponents. I'm landing the jab with accurate technique. I'm landing it with snap. I'm touching and occupying, and I'm dropping down to the body, okay? Now, all of this, of course, changes when I'm boxing, say, a counter puncher. Now, if I'm boxing a counter puncher, a boxer moving counter puncher, then what I want to do is I want to be a little bit more careful about where I'm jabbing, because I don't want to just throw a jab away, even if it has got beautiful, precise technique. I want A, B, no movement in between, no telegraphing. Even with that, this counter puncher might pull and counter. They might slip and counter. They might get inside and throw their counter. That's what they're looking for. These are the things that they're trying to do at all points. So my job is to then be busy in how I'm throwing that jab and what space I can occupy to prevent them throwing the shot that they're looking for. So, for example, if they have a particularly proficient rear hand and they're used to pulling and shooting or slipping and shooting or slipping an uppercut, then what I want to do is I want to jab towards that rear hand as opposed to jabbing at their chin. So the rear hand is there and I'm jabbing out to it all the time, getting that little slip, getting my head off, creating a little bit of extra space, get that right hand in the gap. Now I've got extra range because rather than be here, I'm back here. That gives me an extra couple of inches of distance from the shot, and this rear hand's filling up the gap. And then I'm back in shape, dip and throw, drop down to the body, give them something to think about, and then back up to the head. Land on that glove. What I don't want to do is repeat it hundreds of times without changing it. So I land on the glove, little left hook tap there, little left hook tap there, and then jab back into that left glove, and then drive down the middle, drop down to the body, okay? So what I need to do is actually utilize occupying the gloves far more than I normally would, and then pick my shots off the back of that, and just be a little bit busier with that jab. You'll notice in Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol 2, there was a lot more jab variation from Bivol, a lot more variation in where he was putting his shots, a lot more occupying of Beterbiev's gloves, so that enabled him to then follow up with greater shots and create more openings. Beterbiev, however, did the opposite from the first fight. He jabbed less and he picked less shots off of it because there was less openings created as a result, okay? So we're in there with a counter punch and we want to be busy occupying the gloves, keeping their hands busy. When they move their head, we want to be using that back leg to get ourselves out off of that jab, so that we are creating space and taking their countering opportunity away from them. Now, of course, we can't box on the back foot for the whole fight without getting on that front foot to try and land a few more shots eventually. So in this instance, this is where we change the pace and we vary the power. So what I want to do with that little slip jab I was talking about towards the rear glove, touch it out there nice and relaxed, try and engineer a response, pull the counter. Now, when they counter, I'm going to look to defend that counter in whatever manner is suitable. Say it's an overhand right, I roll under, I come up, and then on the front foot, I'm driving in and I work. If they're coming with the uppercut, I'm going to look at parrying down and shooting shots, or they come in with the uppercut, I'm going to look at bringing the guard together and shutting that space down and coming through with punches, okay? So what I need to do is transition between those jabs and attack, transition between being on the back foot and then suddenly driving in and coming on the front foot. That's really, really important, okay? So we've got aggressive opponents, we've got counter-punching opponents. For me, the most challenging opponents have always been southpaws. As an orthodox fighter, my experience of boxing southpaws meant that in my gym, there was only ever one southpaw, so we didn't get a lot of sparring. And then when I boxed, I think I boxed southpaws 4 times. I think I won 1 fight and I won 1 by stoppage, 1 by points and lost 2. So 2 and 2, 50-50. But it was a challenge, it was never easy, okay? I never boxed a southpaw and thought, oh, I'm comfortable here. So as my career progressed, that was something that I really focused on. I studied some great southpaws. One of the greatest southpaws of reasonably modern era, in my opinion, is Zab Judah. Zab Judah was let down by his mentality, not by his ability. An unbelievable southpaw with exceptional technique. And as such, I studied some of that and I saw how he was beaten and what defeated him. And of course, Floyd Mayweather demonstrated perfectly how to do that. That's to occupy and shut down, okay? So I'm in there with that jab and that jab is higher, my hands become higher because I want to take that southpaw stance. I want to take that jab from my opponent. So I get my hands higher. What I'm doing by getting my hands higher is I'm offering him two chances. That's to try and drive through the middle, which I can then counter over the top of, or that's to bring him down so he shifts, and then again I counter over the top of that. Now, most of the time those southpaws are going to be looking for that left hand off the back of that. So what I am is I'm working busy on my left foot to move to my left and drop my shots down away from that shot. Yeah, if the right hand lead hook for the southpaw comes round, my chin is tucked behind that shoulder as it comes. I've got my hand there ready to counter. So we have options off of that. So the jab becomes a much higher drop jab sort of style down from here, and then I'm shutting them down, but I'm not shutting down in a straight line. I'm trying to take my head outside the line of their right shoulder. So this is the center line. My southpaw opponent's lead side is this side, which is their right shoulder, and I'm looking to get my head off of that center line as I'm going round, so that I can work down, but also so that when I'm over here, I can bring my shots around and away from that left hand where they're always going to be strongest. Okay, it's really important for me to put myself in an advantageous position and take myself away from their most aggressive and capable position. So there's a lot to unravel there. As I said, waxing lyrical, just talking. This is the kind of thing that actually I really like doing, because once I start discussing boxing, I feel like I've got an awful lot of information that kind of comes out of me in a bit of a brain splurt, shall we say. And as such, these videos are something that I'm going to keep trying to do more often, keep talking boxing, and hopefully over the next couple of months, weeks, years, I can get people in with me to talk boxing from all different sorts of boxing backgrounds, and we can have a little chat about some of these things, some technique, and help you all to keep learning, growing, and developing your boxing knowledge, IQ, and acumen. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, drop them below. There's a wide array of variables that affect all of the things I've talked about today. Stylistic, physical, all elements that will require adaptation to manage. So please, nothing is ever gospel in boxing. Sometimes you have to be open to adaptation. Certain people require certain changes. Certain types of fighter, certain things won't work for. So figure out what works for you. Take these things into the gym and practice them. Develop them, see how they work on the bags, how they work on the double end bag, how it works against an opponent like drilling, how it works in games. Gamify it, have some fun with it. Get yourself out there playing tag, touch drills. Get yourself doing light technical sparring, jab sparring. All of these assets that you have available to you working in a boxing gym are there to help you develop as a fighter, and most importantly to work on that brain, because boxing is a thinking man's sport. It's not all about the physical, and without the brains, the rest of it falls to pieces. So as always, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. Many more to come, and have a great day.